Hi, my name is Sid and I am a musician that you've never heard of. You can call me whatever you want as long as I know you're talking to me. I've been recording and releasing music for about 4 years now, which is not much time at all, believe me, I know. But because it's the only frame of reference or experience that I have, I will speak from it. I've released 3 albums, and at the time of recording this video, I'm about to release another. I love music. It's my favorite thing that I have found, and I love entertaining. I know that this is not what you clicked on the video for, but I feel that it is necessary for me to delve a slight bit into my experience in order to emphasize my next point, which is that I will never tell you something that does not come from a warm and fuzzy place of careful deliberation and personal experience. You're not going to get tips here on how to write perfect harmonies or master the fretboard or become a wizard of your chosen instrument. And that's because I'm not going to teach you about something that I'm not confident in knowing myself. You are, however, going to learn how to enjoy the process of creating and releasing music as much as I can hope to teach you. Everything that I will tell you comes from personal experience. So, without further ado, let's begin. 1. Don't compare your experience to someone else's. Easier said than done, right? We all have certain genres, bands, and people that have influenced us enough to pursue a path down the musical avenue. While we all have influences, it is imperative that we do not allow our degree of worship to become parasitic to ourselves. Many nights, I have spent mentally berating myself for not being like people and artists that I look up to. And I think I'm not alone in that. Not only does this pose a great risk to your own sanity, but it can also very easily become a resentment for those that you idolize. Thoughts such as, well, if they were this old when they did this, and I'm now a year older, so what am I doing with my life? Therefore, I hate this person, and I can't listen to that album anymore. Except for maybe that's not your thoughts, but I have been there before. Okay, so jealousy is a terrible sensation, and it is something that is extremely hard to shed once it has become an integral part of your workflow. Comparing yourself to your heroes is great and all, when you're happy with your music. Thus, it becomes a habit that you return to for positive reinforcement, right? Thus, it digs in to a part of your core, personal musical identity, that thing that's inside that makes the music that you think I'll never be able to capture. It digs into that. It digs in behind what you can see and capture, and it hurts even more when you despise your own music. So yeah. Alright, number 2 is do it more than you talk about. We all like to talk about our experiences with music once in a while. That's totally cool, man. That's far out, you know? That's really fun to do, especially if you've recently come out of a dump and you're like, man, I just worked on music last night to one of your best buddies. You're like, man, I just worked on music and I got a lot of progress done after having writer's block for 2 months. And they're like, that's really awesome, man, and I'm proud of you and I believe in you. That means a lot. In fact, I think, and I'd be willing to bet, that means a lot more to who it's being directed at than the person giving it actually thinks it does. I think it means a lot more than most assume it does. And that's always a great feeling. But it can become not so good if you let the congratulations and warm fuzzies give you that same pride that you would get from actually doing it and actually experiencing the grind of it. That same pride that you sought after when you really started recording and you really put your teeth to that grinder and you said, I'm gonna fucking do this. And it can really become an issue if while you're doing it, you just keep thinking, I'm just gonna tell people I'm doing it and I get the same gratification that I would as if I actually did it. because it's really not. It's really not. And from my experience, sooner or later, people are going to catch on to that and think, this guy's total fucking hack. He's a fraud, man. And they maybe won't think like that, but they'll think, geez, he talks about that a lot. But that's way besides the point. And you know what? I was one of those guys. And I hope I'm not now. Of course, you could say, well, Sid, really? You're recording a video where you're just talking about this shit right now. And I'll say, yeah, you're right. And that'll be the end of that, because I don't really know what else to say to that other than I don't talk about it a lot. I don't really talk about my music a lot, and I kind of like that. But it's also I've never really had an opportunity where I could just really gush about it. But it doesn't matter. And it's cool, you know? And I kind of like it, being able to do it more than I talk about it. And that's why I picked this to be an item on this list, because I want people to know that it's totally okay to do it and not talk about it. In fact, that's pretty cool. But never, please never hesitate. And please never take this as me saying that you should hesitate to tell people about it. I'm just saying, do it more than you talk about it. And you know what? I think that's solid advice. Okie dokie. Okay, number 3 is it's gonna hurt. And, that's something I try and tell to everybody that's really around me that's really getting into music, because, God, man, sometimes it really fucking sucks. And sometimes you'll hate yourself, and you'll hate your voice, and you'll hate your playing, and you'll hate the way you think, and you'll hate the way you thought, and you'll hate the way you think you're gonna think. You'll think, my future me sucks, my past me sucks, and the present me is a terrible fucking human being. And as far as I know, that's totally normal, okay? Because it comes and goes, and it comes and goes with time, and the more that you experience, and the more that you get used to it, you realize, well, this last time, it didn't go as low as it went the first time, which really hurt. And then the second time, which also really hurt, but maybe not as much. And then eventually you'll just come to accept it. That when that pain comes and it really sucks and you hate yourself, I guess that's just part of it. Now, it might not be, okay? Okay, it really might not be. So please don't let that discourage you from pursuing music, which I'm sure if you've made it this far, you're not going to get discouraged. And that's good. That's really good. But it is going to be painful. And it's definitely one of the most painful things that I've done in my life, because I've been entirely conscious that I am making the decision to push this pain out while it's still going to come and it's going to go. And it's going to come and go, and it's yin and yang, and it's all this stuff. But it's really not a balance. Because as much as you want to say that, well, it's the up and downs that really balance it, man. As much as I want to say that, that sucks, okay? But I do recognize the necessity for it, and I think in a lot of ways it keeps me grounded. I've gotten comfortable with that, and that's cool. But don't let that discourage you. Shoot for the stars. Shoot as high as you possibly can, because that's a fun thing to do. And that's cool, and it's your own adventure. It's your own video game, man. It's your own movie. It's your own album, really, to bring it back full circle. And the thing with this pain is that you can let it push you through. You can turn that grief that comes with it into momentum and let it catapult you towards wherever you're aimed at. But you have to remember that if you do turn it into momentum, you have to know where you want to end up at with it, because chances are you'll go there. And I'm not saying you will. I'm just saying from my experience, if I've been really anguished about something and I'm thinking really negatively and I let that turn into momentum, it goes even lower than I thought it could. And that sucks. But it's also true the other way. It can go really great, and that's phenomenal. That's really cool. So there you go. All right, number 4 is let it be what it is. And by that I mean, if you're working on something and you think, this sucks, this is terrible, then maybe it just is, and that's totally cool. That's part of it, man. You might write something and think, that's great, and it is what it is. And you might write something and think, that's terrible, but at least you got it out of the way, and at least you're able to tell that it's terrible. And that's something I find a lot with a lot of writer's block, is you want to tell yourself, hey, I suck at this now. Why, when I was 16, I could write 2 albums in a couple of years, And now it's been over a year since my last album, and I haven't had anything out since then. It's easy to think that you've just gotten bad at it, but really, think of it like you've just gotten better at telling what's bullshit and what's not. You have gotten better at learning what you don't do so good on, or things that you do that aren't very good. And that's a really good tool tip to have, man. That's something really good to have in your arsenal. And believe me, I'm learning most of this as I say it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm only learning a little bit as I say it, but that's the beauty of it. It's like we're going on a journey together. It's kind of romantic, you know? So, and that's also, if you're a perfectionist in any way, which I'm not going to say I am, I'm not going to say I'm not, because really I don't know, and I think it might be derogatory to myself in some weird roundabout way to say that I am, because I don't think I am. But I've had tendencies where I think I can't release this because it's got to be better. No, it can always be better. You're always going to find something that's going to elevate it to that different level. You're always going to think dynamics, layers, melodies, things underneath things underneath things. I want to put things in that the listener isn't even going to hear, but maybe they'll know it's there. Subliminal things. And that's just a whole nother wonky aspect of it. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just let it be, man. Let it be what it is, because at the end of the day, you're going to be more sick of that one awesome song you made than the listener, because you've been listening to it since it was a baby, man. You've been listening to it since it was a riff. And that turns any song into mush in my experience. I've known people, and more so I've known of people that have been in my life before, and they have sat on songs and an album for years and never recorded it. And maybe they were happy with not recording it, and that's totally cool. But in at least one case, they didn't do it because it could always be better. And so they went 10, 15 years not doing anything because they worked on the same 5 songs, the same 40 minutes of music. In somebody else's case, the same hour of music every single day, and now they can't remember it. And I think that's kind of sad, because it's obvious that you would want to remember it, and it's obvious that you think you look back and you would say, I wish I would have gotten that out when I did, because I just sat on it. And now nobody knows what it is, and that's a very real thing. So just let it be what it is. And it's okay to mess up. It's okay to look like a dick. Okay, it's okay to look like a fool. It's okay to look like a failure. Believe me, I've been there a lot. I mean, it sucks. It really sucks, but it's really fine in the long run, as long as you don't think about it too much when you're trying to go to sleep. If you just let it be what it is, you clear the runway for more ideas to come in, and ultimately you have a gradual increase of quality and a steady output of material. And that is a beautiful thing to witness in yourself. Alrighty. Number 5. Just keep doing it. So this is the best advice I have ever received to date on music production, or anything. I think it applies to any aspect of life as long as you are able to apply it. And I can only hope that it is as useful to you as it is to me. So, okay, story time. Oh, enough of the stories. Okay, yeah, well, it's my video. So, when I was 16, I was in the pits of writing the first songs on my first album, Silver Colossus. And I went to a concert with the one and only Devin Townsend, who is my personal musical hero. And I actually got to meet him after the show. I remember the chubby 16-year-old nerd me stumbling over my words in awe at my greatest musical hero. Truth be told, I don't remember all too much about the experience, except that he had big hands, I think, and that he gave me this advice. So my dad, who drove me to the concert, brought me up there with our close family friend named Paul, who Devi actually knew, and I waited patiently in line to speak to him. In the haze of a starstruck teenager, my dad's voice cut through the void of nervousness and excitement and jokingly suggested that Devin should tell me that it's okay for me to play more than just Megadeth and Strapping Young Lad on the guitar, which is 2 bands that I was very keen at the time on figuring out on the guitar from a songwriter's standpoint. Devi laughed and told me these words of wisdom. It's alright, man. You just gotta keep doing it. You'll find your voice. It's been my personal mantra for this entire time, and it has helped me overcome the most painful and hopeless moments of my musical journey. Dear listener, do not give up. Pick up that instrument, pick up that notebook, open up that doll, keep writing, please. Because it's never gonna be that day. You'll always think, oh, tomorrow it'll be that day. Tomorrow I'll wake up with more of a sense of responsibility than I have today. Tomorrow it'll feel right. It just doesn't feel right today. You'll give yourself all these excuses when really the only solution is you just have to do it, even if you don't feel like it. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't take breaks. Taking breaks, I think, is the most, if not one of the most important aspects of being able to make music, is that you can take a break and take in influence from all walks of life, musical or not. You can take an influence from biology. If you're in college and you're learning about cells, you can think, okay, well, the way that these cells behave, I can take a musical influence by that by thinking, okay, well, the blah, blah, blah is the blah, blah, blah. So what if I make the melody act like ribosomes or something? And I don't really know how that would work, but it's an idea and it's stuff that I've done before. So just you need to power through that dark maze of experimentation and confusion and write again and again and again and again and again. And it'll happen in time, but it's not going to happen unless you keep doing it. God, I remember watching a video, Spectre Sound Studios, a great channel, Glenn Fricker, talking about crippling self-doubt. And I think, okay, I'm paraphrasing just what I remember him saying because I've only seen the video once, but it was very profound for me. He says, just keep doing it because not a lot of people are gonna make it past that first failure, the first 10 failures, the first 100 failures. Some people, it'll be the 98th time that they get into that pit of just, blah, this sucks. And they'll stop. And that's okay. That's really okay, you know? But you don't have to. And if you keep going and you just keep going and you don't stop doing it, then at the end of the day, what more could you have done than just doing it? And that doesn't mean always give it 100%. That doesn't mean always give it everything you've got and make it the best thing you've ever done. That just means do it. Do some work on it. If you're at work, wherever you work at, and you've got a few minutes, have a notebook. Be thinking about things. If you can have earbuds in at your workplace, have them in and be listening to stuff you've recorded and put on Google Drive and take notes on, well, I think this segment, I think I should do like a winding down thing when this riff comes back. That way, you know, it's a little different. And it's in those moments where you can't physically work on the music that you can still get things done. And I mean, man, it's free real estate for the inner workings of the mind to grasp on to the metaphysical aspect of the music and create something really beautiful. But it's totally cool to take breaks, and in fact, it's healthy. Sometimes you just want to go play some Hotline Miami or Terraria or Fallout 4, and maybe you'll have a good time and you'll think, I want to work on music. But just please remember, very rarely will it feel like today's the day. And today's the day it's gonna happen. A lot of times, at least for me personally, I need to say, okay, it's time to work on music, so I'm gonna go work on music. And maybe I'll sit down there for 30 minutes and I'll get 2 minutes of stuff recorded and fleshed out with guitars and bass and drums and keyboards and these changes, and I think that's awesome. And maybe you're down there for 5-6 hours and you don't get anything done. Maybe you just go down to your studio, and I say go down because my studio is in my basement. I got one of those bunker studios. It's not really a studio, it's just, I like to call it my studio. And you can just devote time to it. And maybe you're just listening to stuff you've made before. No matter how you feel about it, you're getting that out of the way and you're getting through that. And I think that's a really healthy way to look at it. Or I think it's been healthy so far. Now maybe it hasn't, and maybe that's where a lot of my anxiety about music comes from, but if not, then I'm thankful for it. And I'll always remember being told that. You just gotta keep doing it, man, and you'll find your voice. And you might record 3 albums and think, that's not me. That's not me. I'm just going to keep doing it. And that's great, because that's what it's all about. Like the hokey pokey. All right. Hi, how's it going? I would just like to say thank you so much for listening to this. It really means a lot to me, and I knew that podcasting class would come through for me. it really means a lot to me that you listen to this, and I hope it means something to you. I hope that you can apply these tips in some way. I hope maybe there's some things that we've discussed here that maybe haven't occurred to you. And that would mean a lot to me if I can help in your musical or just life journey in any way. I hope you're having a good time. Feel free to subscribe, to leave a like or a comment. Feel free to do whatever you want, actually. Just have a good time. So, spoiler alert, there's more than just 5 tips for aspiring musicians from a musician that you have never heard of. But I didn't want to do a list of 100 and spend like a year making that video because that would be kind of lame. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be more to come, and they're going to get better, more in depth. This was really fun to do. I hope you liked it, and take it easy, drive safe, sweet dreams. What else? Hope you do things that you like a lot, and bye bye. Toodles. Take it easy. See you.